Happy New Year! Welcome back to my channel. My name is Michelle and I make bookish videos. Here I want to talk about what all I'm going to read in 2025 and what my reading goals are. I am in a lot of book clubs, probably too many. Sometimes it's a little hard to keep up with them, but I do like to dip in and out. Some I've been a part of for a very long time. This year, my top goal is to prioritize those book clubs. Last year, we bought a house, we renovated the house, we moved. I was fairly busy. I kept up with them, but didn't necessarily participate a whole lot. So now that I'm done with school, I'm starting my job, more into that, I would like to prioritize not only reading the books, but participating in the book clubs more. The first book club that I want to talk about, I am very, very excited about this one. This was a spin-off from one of my other book clubs I'm going to talk about later, but we started out and read all of Virginia Woolf over 2 or 3 year span. I was still in law school when this one started. I believe it ran from 2021 and we finished up with Between the Acts last year. So I've read all of her major novels with that book club, read several of her shorter works, and it was so fun, such a great community, and I really love that book club. When we were wrapping up, finishing the last couple novels, we were talking about how to keep the book club going, what we might want to read next. So we had a voted on this author. I've mentioned it before in my other videos, but voted on this author to continue with the book club. And we also voted to take a short break because we're all just generally busy in life. So put that on pause and starting in the new year with a new author. I've said it before, it is James Baldwin. So from 2025, 2026, and I think maybe a bit into 2027, we are pretty relaxed with the schedule. We are going to be reading all of James Baldwin's major works, some of his minor works. I am so excited about this one. The reading schedule for 2025, let's dive into it a little bit. I will primarily be delving into these 2 volumes, the collected essays and the early novels and short stories, because we are starting at the beginning. We will be reading James Baldwin chronologically. That is how we read Woolf. That is the nature of this book club. We pick an author and we read them from their early works to their later works. There's a huge benefit to reading authors chronologically. I love doing it. I've done it with Austen, I've done it with Woolf. I've done it with some of the classes I took in university, Woolf and Austen being 2 of those. It's great to see how those authors grow, what from their later works was evident in their early works, and it's really an interesting study. I love doing it. I haven't read any Baldwin, any at all, completely new. I will say that sometimes I like going into my reads where I read chronologically after I've read some of their blockbuster major works, because it is easier to pick and pull out of the early work what comes later, but it's fun to do it completely chronological. So in January and February, starting out with Go Tell It on the Mountain. This was published, it must be published, in 1953, so that is his first novel. Then in March, we will be reading The Amen Corner. I do not believe that this is in either of my volumes, so it must be a shorter work. I also haven't perused the essay one, the shorter ones in the back quite yet, so I'll be able to find a copy of that. Then in April and May, it will be Notes of a Native Son. That is in the essay collection. In June and July, we will be reading Giovanni's Room. This is obviously one of his most well-known works, so getting into that pretty quickly, that's exciting. I've heard really, really great things about this one. Sticking with this novel, we will be reading Another Country in August and September, and October and November is The Fire Next Time. When I read through all of the descriptions, this one might be the one that I'm most excited for. This one and the train one. And then in December, we will be reading Blues for Mr. Charlie. Again, I need to check if it's in that essay collection or if it's a shorter one that I can find online somewhere. And it looks like the book club will take us through 2026, and then we will see what author we pick next. That is book club number 1. Book club number 2. This is my longest book club I've been in, if you count my time in Life's Library and transitioning to branching out. It was a spin-off, sort of a continuation. So I joined Life's Library in 2019 and have been reading with some of the same people for the past 6 years now, which is crazy and amazing. I've read almost all of the Life's Library books. There were 2 that I didn't get to with school and everything, and excited to get to those eventually. Branching out book club. The first year I was very good about keeping up with the books, and especially this past year, I didn't read hardly any of them. So prioritizing this next year, voting in the polls, participating. So the way this one works, I don't know what I'm going to be reading all year. We vote month to month. I think we're a month in advance, so you start voting on the next book when you're in the current book, and then it is chosen and you have plenty of time to acquire the book, immerse yourself in what you will be reading, that sort of thing. 2025, in Branching Out Book Club, we will be reading Frankenstein in Baghdad by Hamid Swadi. Please tell me how to pronounce that if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. But I have seen so many good things about this one on BookTube. I read Frankenstein about 2 years ago. Honestly, wasn't enamored with it, but I am very excited to get to this one. So immediately in January, starting out with Hotel on the Mountains in Baldwin and Frankenstein in Baghdad. Then my third book club is with Emmy and Carolyn Marie Reeds. They have lovely YouTube channels that have inspired me so much, and I love watching them. They host the Game of Tomes book club. Started out as Dickens versus Tolstoy. I joined that in its final year, and then they changed it. I don't know if there was a name in between. I think that the name rebrand to Game of Tomes. Miss Olive was the year 1 sort of new iteration, but the new iteration, the first iteration, we picked a novel each month and compared the 2. So for example, we did Brothers Karamazov and The Stranger, Dostoevsky and Camus. So we read Brothers Karamazov in July and then The Stranger in August. That year was probably my best year in the book club. I kept up with every single book, and I found a lot of new favorites that year. This past year, they changed it, so it was 1 big book every 2 months. So they read 6 books. Half of them I'd actually already read before. So I did end up reading all of the new ones, but again, didn't really participate in their book club. So they just announced for 2025 what they will be reading, and it's starting out with The Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann. I have a couple Audible credits, so I'm going to go with that. There are 3 different translations. The first is David Rintoul, which I've heard good things about. The next is Peter Noble, and then the last one, the Audible exclusive, is Fraser Mackenzie. I am pretty sure I'm going to go with David Rintoul, but if you have preferences or know anything about these narrators, let me know in the comments below. This year they're extending it, which is exciting because 2 months per book was a lot, especially with all my other book clubs. So this first one will be January, February, and March. The next book that we will be reading is East of Eden by John Steinbeck. That will be April, May, and June. I'm really excited to read this one. I've been wanting to read it for a while. In July, August, and September, it will be The Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien. And the last one to wrap out the year is Babel by R.F. If I have the initials wrong, I'm sorry, but Kwan. And I actually haven't heard anything about this one, but apparently it's quite popular on BookTube, so we will see if I get to that one. My final book club, this is an in-person one that just started. The first book we read was The Silent Patient by Alexander Michaelides. That's with some of my local friends here, and we get together, talk about the book. The next book I actually won't be able to make it for is Local Woman Missing by Marie Kubiak. But again, with this one, we pick month to month. This one is more of a month schedule, whereas my James Baldwin, it's every 2 months pretty much, unless it's shorter, then it's just a month. The Branching Out Book Club is 6-week schedule, and then obviously the big books is 3 months schedule, so plenty of time spaced out with my own reading as well. This one's month to month, and it's a little bit tight sourcing the book sometimes, but primarily listen to these on audiobooks. I didn't super love The Silent Patient, but the first book club went really well, and I'm excited to continue with that in February since I can't make January. I made a video for my 2024 reading goals, and I put all these books on there that I wanted to read, these books that I bought, and I got to hardly any of them, honestly. So I want to show you some of the books I got at the Barnes & Noble half-off hardcover sale. It's no longer half off, it just rolls off the tongue better. It was a third off this year, but that's all right. What I'm kind of in the middle of right now we'll be continuing on with, but other than that, my main goal is to read books that are on my shelves, have been on there for a while. When I was in school, I got quite the build up because I wasn't reading as fast as they came in. Now I've been doing better, but I still have new books coming in. I'm currently in the middle of, and don't expect to finish before the end of the year because it's not quite January 1st yet. I did decide to start The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. I'm on page 91. Honestly, I'm not loving it. It's okay. I've enjoyed the vibes. It feels like a good winter Christmas book, but it's not gonna be a favorite for me. I'm gonna finish it out. Just continue with this. I will finish it eventually is my expectation. The next one that I started is one I picked up at Barnes & Noble while I was home at the sale. That's The Backyard Bird Chronicle by Amy Tan. Can I just say, I have missed Amy Tan. I read Amy Tan every year in high school. She was a very popular summer reading author for me. And I loved her, but this book has been such a comfort. It's been so good so far. I read the preface, the foreword, and now I'm on page 26, and it just has beautiful illustrations she's done, and it reminds me a lot of Bird's Art Life that I read in Life's Library. So we'll be continuing with this one, not in a huge hurry to finish it. The next one I started is so good, also I got at the sale. The latest Murakami, The City and Its Uncertain Walls. It's so good. So I'll be finishing this one, probably reading it kind of slowly, savoring it. This is my first Murakami that I have read. The other two I listened to on audiobook, but I'm becoming such a huge Murakami fan. Then the last two books, I just picked these up at the sale. Haven't started them. Would be nice to get to them this year, but we'll see what happens. This was my most exciting find. I found Blue Sisters by Coco Milors. I've been told that it is like Sally Rooney, and it's a signed copy. It's signed. I walked in, I saw this, I knew it was gonna be a good book haul day. I don't know too much about this. I know it's about 4 sisters and about grief. I thought one hopefully start it soon-ish. The last one I picked up is a little Virginia Woolf short story collection, Street Haunting and Other Stories. I don't have this one. I'm collecting the Virginia Woolfs in cloth bound. Excited to read these. Most of them I have read, but PDF through school or online or something like that. With our membership, some book plate stickers, so I can put those all in my books. So those are my reading plans for 2025, all the book clubs I'm in, the many book clubs, and the book clubs I'd like to keep up with. Would love to know what you plan on reading in the new year, what book clubs you are in, so leave a comment down below. Thank you so much for being here and for watching. I'm really enjoying making these videos and getting back into it, and I will see you in the next one.